Om Sri Sai Ram. Welcome to Sri Satya Sai Lokaseva Gurukulam. Today we are going to start our first chapter in senior secondary course, that is Origin and Evolution of Life and Introduction to Classification. This is what we are going to see in this series. First we will see what are all the learning objective in this chapter. Here we are going to study the theory of origin of life. Then we are going to study organic evolution. We are going to see all the different kind of theories and also the modern theory of evolution. Then morphological, paleontological, embryological and molecular evidences of organic evolution we are going to learn. Then we are going to see the sources of organic variation, natural selection, role of isolation in evolution, finally speciation. So, we are going to study Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, basis of classification, theory of origin of life, then stages of organic evolution. This is what we are going to see today. First, we will see origin of life. We all know that Earth was a part of Sun before, and because of the impact which happened to the Sun by a planet known as Theia, the Sun split into various parts. One such part is now we are calling it as Earth. All these events happened. Earth originated 5 billion years ago. So during that time the Earth have formed. When it was formed, it was extremely hot and it was full of gases. It was not having a solid core in it, and then we can able to see that because of the hot environment, it did not support any kind of life. It is not possible to have life in that era, in that period of time. Then how Earth got all these organisms started originating and what happened to the Earth after that, that is what we are going to see. So how the life originated and how the organisms evolved in the future. All those things are given by various theory. You maybe know about the spontaneous generation theory, right? Spontaneously the organism started evolving from various things like people were giving. And we know about each and every religion believe like how human and other creature in the earth got created. So each and every religion will have its story. So similar to that, many different kind of theory explains how the organisms evolved and originated in the environment, in the earth. So one such theory is known as chemosynthetic theory. What this chemosynthetic theory is telling, with scientific proof, it is telling how the organism have evolved. So this chemosynthetic theory is given by A.I. Operin, and he did a certain kind of experiments and then he explored things and then he coined this chemosynthetic theory about origin of life. And here what he is telling is so many different kind of chemicals which combines and then it forms a substance in the presence of water, and then because of all those combinations we could able to see the organisms got originated on the earth's surface. So what it is telling about in chemosynthetic theory, the earth originated 5 billion years ago and it was very hot and it was like gaseous planet. That time it was having ammonia, water vapor, hydrogen and methane. These are the 4 important compound which was present in its vapor form, especially water in its vapor form which was present in that environment. The earth was having so many different kind of gases that time, and it was having water, but water was not in the liquid form, it was in the gaseous form. So what are all the different kind of gases which was present? It had ammonia, water vapor, hydrogen and methane. These are the 4 important compound which was present in the early earth. When it originated, it was extremely hot during that time, and we can able to see other chemical vapors are also present, and it was not having a free oxygen which was present in the environment. This was the condition 5 billion years ago. Then what happened? The earth got separated from the sun and it moved little away from the sun, right? So because of that, the earth lost some of its, and it started become cool down, and earth now it is becoming little by little, it is cooling down. While it is cooling down, what happens? This water vapor which was present, it will tend to move up, right? This water vapor, when it is moving up, when it is reaching certain distance, then it will become cool down, right? When water cools down, what will happen? The water vapors are becoming liquid. The liquid will have high density than air, and then it will start falling, right, because of the gravitational force. So earth started pulling the water towards it, correct? So when the water is started pulling towards the earth is getting cooled down, because it is called as rain, right? When rain happens, the earth is becoming cool. But the earth was not cool enough to hold the water. The earth was very hot, right? Immediately after falling, the raindrops falling on the earth's surface, it evaporated because of the very hot nature of the earth's surface. Then again the water vapor tend to move up, and then it started cooling down when it is moving away from the hot surface. When it is cooling down, again the earth is pulling that water again in the form of rain. This process repeated several times. Because of that, the earth crust started forming because of the cooling nature of the water. The water again and again it fall on the earth's surface. So when it is falling, eventually on the cool surface of the water, it started forming ocean-like structures or a sea-like structures. That is the water body which was very hot in nature, and it was having some of the gases in the atmosphere that got dissolved. The ammonia and also the methane got dissolved in that water, and it is forming a liquid on the earth's surface. It is known as primordial soup, if you remember your 10th standard portion, right? So this is an ideal condition which was created on the earth surface for the origin of life. This is what is explaining in chemosynthetic theory. Then the chemical reactions happen in this hot body of water, where amino acid, nitrogen bases, sugar and fatty acids are produced, and from that we could able to see the protein and nucleic acids are originated. These are the simpler form, right? Amino acid, nitrogen bases are the simpler form. When it is so many amino acids coming together, it forms protein. Similarly, the nitrogen bases along with the sugar and phosphate, it formed the nucleic acid. This is how the chemosynthetic theory explains how the life would have originated. You can see a diagrammatic representation from your book which states that how the environment was in the ancient time. So here you can able to see that the sun was present that time and it was giving out some of the radiation, and you can see ammonia, hydrogen, methane, carbon dioxide, water vapor, everything was present in the atmosphere. And you can see that the primordial soup have formed in that sugar, amino acids, glycerol. Then apart from that, some of the nucleotides, that is pyrimidine, purines, right, that is the nitrogen base present in the genetic material. All those things started forming in the primordial soup. We can see that the complex formation, that is polysaccharide, fat, protein and nucleic acids started forming in that primitive earth. We'll move further. So, what are the probable stages in the origin of life according to the chemosynthetic theory? It is divided into 4 stages. We will see one by one. In first stage, it had only the different kind of gases and water which started forming, right, on the earth's surface. Hot body of water started forming. So, in that, the energy sources such as UV radiation, lightning which happened in the environment, and heat which was from the earth and also from the sun. Because of all those things which gave energy to produce the simple organic compound. Where these organic compounds are coming from? It is coming from this methane which was present, right, in the primordial soap. So, it is a carbon containing compound. So, from that this organic compound started originating. When it is combining with ammonia, it forms that purine and pyrimidine, that is the nitrogen bases, right, that also have formed. Then in the second stage what happened? The simple organic compound which was formed in the first stage, they combined to form a little bit bigger and larger compounds. They are known as peptides, sugar, starch and also the fat molecule. So, little bit bigger complex molecules started forming. Then we are having the third stage. In the third stage, the larger molecule, what it does is it interacted with each other and it combines in various combinations, and because of the combination it formed multimolecular heaps or complexes. These multimolecular heaps are the compounds which are known as coacervate. It is called as coacervates. And these simple fat molecules arrange themselves around a membranous structure. It was not a living organism, but you can imagine a missile like structure, a soap bubble like structure, inside something is trapped, right. This kind of structure started originating, and this is like similar to that of the membrane bound organelles what we are having now, and similar to that the structure started forming by itself. And these were observed in the laboratory experiments which was done by scientists, which we will see in the next slide. This was observed in the laboratory experiments as well. So, it proves like the origin of organism which happened in these stages, and they are known as coacervate. And some of these compound which started forming in this period, it had a capacity to do metabolism. Metabolism means it tend to create some chemicals and tend to break down some chemicals. So, origin of some chemicals and breakdown both is possible. Anabolism and catabolism both are possible. Because of catabolism, it started releasing energy. When a compound breaks down, it releases energy. This energy also the organism tend to utilize, and it used for its own purpose to do certain function inside the cell. And these kind of actions in the initial stage, which most probably it may be done by RNA like people are suspecting. The most probable genetic material which originated in the very first beginning is also considered as RNA. It is not the DNA which had formed. So, what this RNA did, this RNA is having enzymatic activity also. We can see RNA as a genetic material in some of the viruses, right. So, it is a genetic material also, but instead of acting as a genetic material, it will do another function like catalyzing the reaction. Hence, the catalytic activity of the RNA is known as ribozymes. Remember enzymes, right? Ribozymes means the ribosomes, the RNA which is having a catalytic activity, thereby it will do certain kind of metabolic pathway inside a living organism. So, all those things were observed. So, now we will see what is the laboratory experiment conducted and how did they prove. Stanley Miller and Harold Urey in 1953, they set up a environment which mimicked the primitive earth. This is the setup they made. Here you can able to see that various different things they have arranged. Okay, here we will see first what they did is they were having a boiling water here. Okay, they were boiling the water. When the water boils, it will produce vapor, right? This vapor along with they mixed with methane, ammonia, water and hydrogen in presence of water vapor. They kept it with electrodes. These electrodes produced so much of sparks and discharges. to mimic the early thunderstorms and also the lightning which happened in the primitive earth. So this environment is totally like a primitive earth condition, what we have learnt 5 million years ago happened to the earth. So in this, whatever chemical which have formed, they were cooling down in the condenser. So the water will enter inside this way and it will come out. So this area will become cool, right, when water is going and coming out. And here the cold water they were pumping. So in this environment it is very cool. So whatever chemical which is falling in this place, it will condense like a raindrop and it will come and trap here. So whatever chemical which is trapped here, when they were analyzing, they could able to see that it formed simple carbohydrate, simple fat structures, and then some of the amino acids and the pyrimidines and purine have formed in that environment, that they could able to see in this condition. So this is how they created a environment to mimic the early environment, that is 5 million years ago, how the earth was, and they could able to prove that the chemosynthetic theory, the third stage of chemosynthetic theory was proved using this experimental setup. It is an airtight container, right? So you cannot able to see anywhere the gas is getting leaked or the environmental contaminant or gas is entering inside the environment. It is an airtight container. Then we will move further towards the fourth stage of organic evolution, in that the nucleoprotein or the nucleoacids have evolved by random combination. We have seen that ribozymes before, now the nucleoproteins and nucleic acids have evolved. It had genetic property, right? It has to transfer the genetic information, so it is like a genetic material. Apart from that, it has having an ability to do chemical reactions, and these ribosomes are the nucleic acid which had an ability to do reproduction, that is similar kind of organism or the primitive cells it tend to create. So these organisms reproduced by binary fission, thereby we could able to see that these organisms started multiplying, that is the reproduction started happening in that environment. Since these organisms are having its own role, that is it has to have some kind of chemical reaction, it has to undergo reproduction, and it is able to create a similar kind of its own nature, right? Hence it is known as simplest life, and it is in the earlier stage, hence it is known as primordial. That is the simplest primordial life started originating on the surface of earth in the stage 4. Then after happening all those things, we need to see how the organisms have evolved, right? These organisms mostly they are heterotrophic in nature. Hetero means others, right? Hetero, it is not a self. Then trophic means the food habit. So it depends on the other organism, other things which was present around it as food. Hence it is known as heterotrophic organism. So the first organism which was evolved on the surface of the earth is nothing but the animal like creature. That is, it depends on the other organism for its food material. It's to satisfy its hunger. Then we could able to see that one big breakthrough which happened to that is the formation of chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is having an ability to trap the sunlight in presence of carbon dioxide and water. It could able to fix carbon dioxide to sugar, right? That is the process of photosynthesis. So the formation of chlorophyll is one of the big change which happened in the environment, in the genetic makeup, where the organism tend to produce its own food, right? It is doing an autotrophic nature of the food preparation. It synthesizes its own food, autotrophic, right? So now they use the solar energy to produce food. Apart from that, the important event which happened during this time is liberation of free oxygen. Remember, in earlier slides we have seen like there was no free oxygen present in the environment. We could able to see carbon dioxide, right? Now we are getting the free oxygen which was liberated, that molecular oxygen O2 got liberated into the environment after we are getting the plant, that is the chlorophyll containing organism started evolving on the earth's surface. So overall, when you are considering, we have various steps in the organic evolution, right? The chemical synthetic theory of evolution. In that, what happened? We have seen like carbohydrate, amino acid, nucleic acid, fatty acid, everything aggregated. This aggregation we can able to see it is trapped inside a membrane like structure. Because it is trapped inside it, it coordinatingly it was doing certain kind of reactions. Thereby we could able to see that it is having certain mechanism to do the respiration process, and it started doing some kind of chemical reaction inside that, right? These organisms tend to reproduce and it can able to produce the cells of the same kind. From that, what happened? The primitive viruses like structure started evolving. It was having just protein and nucleic acid. From that, the modern viruses started evolving. That we can able to see from the evolution. Then what are all the other things we could able to get it, and we could able to get the true cells started forming in the environment. Then we can able to see the bacteria started forming, and this bacteria, again the major breakthrough is the photosynthesizing organism. How they did photosynthesis? Because they were having chlorophyll which was present, right? That was also one of the biggest breakthrough happened in the genetic material to create something called as chlorophyll to trap the sun's energy. And then from this heterotrophic nature, we can see all the protists, all the multicellular animals, everything started originating. So from a simple organic compound, how a complex structures like a modern virus, photosynthesizing organism, algae, plants, everything, and then the protists, the smaller invertebrate, chordate, all those organisms, and also some of the bacteria, everything started originating from the simple organic compound we have studied in this chapter. Okay, now we will come to the end. So we have certain home assignment question. Please try to solve it and we will discuss the answer in the upcoming presentation. The first question asked is, what are the probable stages in the origin of life? Explain in detail. It may be a little bigger question, so the marks which was given is also little higher. Okay, so based on that you can write the answer, and if possible you can draw certain diagrams also for that. Okay, the primitive earth and all. So if question the answer is little bigger and the mark given was also little bigger, the expectation for that question is also little bigger. You may have to draw the diagram as well. The next question is, what is coaxavate drops? What is this? Okay, what is coaxavate drop? When it is formed, what is the nature of it? All those things you have to explain. Third question is, what was proved by Stanley Miller and Harold C. Urey? What did they do and what did they prove? Okay, that is what is asked. It is not a very direct question, it is little indirect. You just watch the video again, you will get the answer. Otherwise, you check your previous year textbooks. That 10th standard textbook explains it very well. But you have already studied that. In the 12th standard book, it was not written. Now in your PU, it is not written very clearly. So you can able to get it. Otherwise, you watch the video again to get all the answers. Hope you understand this lecture properly, and we'll meet in our next part. Thank you. Om Shri Sai Ram.